Kyle's favorite song. We're back.
Love that opening. Love
WAC Hoops All Access. Excited today. We're going to get straight to it. The hottest team in the WAC, hands down. I know there's a lot more basketball to be played. Coach will say that, but to this point, they are the hottest team. They've knocked out the preseason number 1, 2, and 3, and have turned their season around from first semester, which I think 2 Division I wins is what they got. Getting used to having a new team, and now they're red hot, sitting at the top of the conference. So we're excited to have head coach Jason HOOTEN from Sam Houston State in the building with us. Coach, what up?
Thanks for having me on. I'm highly impressed with that little intro music and the little
right. See, yeah, I'm not the only one.
That's high level stuff right there. You guys have come from, y'all have come from just starting the ground level to y'all have arrived.
We're doing a little bit. We're gonna put you in the hot seat. We'll show you the new technology there too. Put you in the hot seat, so you're in the hot seat now. So shout out to my cousin Anitra Burton, who she does all the production stuff. I don't mess with it. So she did that. So
she's big time.
She is big time. There's no doubt. So speaking of big time, Coach, we got to talk about this team. This week in particular, we had Coach Mudge on earlier for our first episode. We're now in episode 3. And this week you played the 2 of the 3 undefeated teams, but the 2 defending champions of the last 2 seasons, and really the 2 powers in traditional WAC before the new WAC with all the Texas Southland teams. What has this week been like for you other than exhausting?
Well, I mean, it's been, anytime you can win, it's always fun and exciting. But to beat teams of that magnitude, it makes it special for sure. But I don't look into that too far because those games were at home. And, I think good basketball teams are supposed to win their games at home. I just think that's how it plays out in college basketball. You're supposed to win your home games and, defend your home court. And you got to give our guys credit because, they did that 3 times in a row. And it's still, even though, you're expected to win at home, it's still hard to do against teams of that caliber.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me this, Coach. You were in the Southland, so right now you guys are the number 1 field goal percentage defense in conference-only games. When you were at Sam Houston in the Southland, you did that 8 times when you were either an assistant or head coach. I don't know if you know that. So you're pretty used to this field goal percentage defense number 1 spot. Let's talk about your defense and then talk about going into the WAC from another league. You looked at the top of the league to say, okay, this is who we're looking to compete against now. So when you recruited and got guys like Savon, who we'll talk about later, I guess what is it like now that you're in the league and you're playing against those teams, whether home or away, that you were kind of looking up to like, okay, we got to raise the bar because it's a different level of play than the Southland?
Man, you threw a lot of really good stuff into one question. Man, defense, I think, is just kind of, my mentor is Lon Reisman, the athletic director at Tarleton, who, everybody has a GOAT in their life, and he's my GOAT. I just think that was what I was taught as a young coach when I worked for him and then became a head coach was, defense is what wins. And, this team, I saw early in the year, we had some spurts where defensively we could do some things and we could really move some guys around and we could have some different types of coverages than we've had in the past, but we just never put it together in there were games like, Bradley and Missouri State where we just got the brakes beat off of us. And then, and then there were games like Texas and SMU and Nebraska and North Texas where there were some stretches in there where we were playing defensively. And I was, the game at Texas, I was like, man, we are guarding and they're obviously really talented. And I thought, God, it's in there. Like we can get there, we can do it. And, I think the El Paso trip, Brian, you coached for a long time, there's a point in time in every season, whether it's a game or a trip or there's a come to Jesus, we had that. We got beat by Bradley, golly, they just beat the tar out of us and they're good. They're really good. And after the game, we just sat in the locker room for 2 hours And
Yeah.
we went down every guy, and I'd been reading, and I know it's an old book, but this Jay Wright book, I'd been reading it on the airplane, and he had one of those points in his career, and or in one of his seasons, and so he kind of did something a little different. He let each guy go around and just kind of talk and like tell what he thought about the team or what we need to do better or whatever. So I had just read that book or finished it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. So I just let those guys talk. I just let each one of them, and it was amazing how truthful they were with each other, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. So we got done, and I was good. I was like, okay, well, let's go. And then they were like, well, coach, we want you to tell us what you think about each one of us.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, man, this has played out exactly the way I want it. Because, who doesn't want it?
It's their idea, not your idea now.
It just worked out just right. And so, I let them have it. I went down each one of them like, hey, you're selfish. Hey, you don't practice hard every day. Hey, when things go bad for you, you start dropping your head and playing bad and whatever. And
right.
Man, it took us a long time, but we got around the room, and and then I went through the coaches, and I went through myself, and we just kind of aired it out. And then we came back the next day against North Carolina Central, and we played real well, but I could just tell the difference. Like it felt different. So then we flew home, and we were going to Christmas, and so then you're worried, right? Like, okay,
yeah.
We're going to come back from Christmas, and are we going to still have that same feeling? And we came back, and we didn't practice very well right before those first two conference games, and then there was a lot of COVID scaring and going on and stuff then. And then Lamar, they come in that first game, and I got to go to the board like 10 minutes before tip and erase like their three best players off the board, right? And so, we were ready to play. And our guys, you could just see our guys were like, come on, man.
Right.
We're ready to play. And now they're going to have their three leading scorers not out there.
Right.
So that first game was an absolute, we were behind the whole game. It was a dog fight. And, and then we played Rio Grande, and we were up 30 with like 8 minutes to go, and I started subbing in the bench, and then they came and cut it to like 16 or something, and I just kind of felt like, I don't know. And then we just kind of kept going, and then we lost Javion, Javion is our heart and soul. He's the best defender in this league. I don't care who we still hadn't played or seen. He's the best defender in this league. And so we go to Tarleton without him, and you obviously know how tough Tarleton is, right? So we're going to Tarleton without our toughest guy on this trip, and without my 7-2 kid the first night. So we go to Tarleton, and they put it on us, pretty good. And then we go to Abilene, and, we went on the buzzer. And I just think that game, we were already starting to play better, but I think that game gave us confidence to win a tough game on the buzzer.
Right.
And then we just took off, and, we're playing good right now. The thing I like the most, guys, is we've been able to show that we can win different ways. We made 13 threes against New Mexico State, and then we couldn't make one, yesterday until we really needed it. Savon played great against New Mexico State at times, but he got 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes of the game and didn't even play in the first half, and we were up 20 at halftime. So, again, I think that told our team that we got a pretty good team without the best player, the best player in the league. And
I mentioned that to Brian before we started. Like,
you did.
The fact that you guys can win a 49-41 game against SFA, then win in a blowout game over New Mexico State. I think that's the most impressive, is just how different style of games you guys have played. You've been able to win all of them.
Yeah. No question. And, and then the second part of your question is, I think that you can look at a lot of film and you can watch TV, but I think until you really start playing on the court and in the game live, do you really appreciate how good teams are.
For sure.
But I also knew, and this is no disrespect to the Southland, because, the Southland is I mean, it's a good league, and it was a great league for us and to us. But there's no comparison in what I've seen thus far. And again, we're not even halfway through the league yet.
Yeah.
This league is for real, and it's night in and night out. And I don't think there's a team in the league. You know, there's some teams in the Southland where I felt like if I just got them there and we played really hard and guarded, that we were going to find a way to win that game.
Yep.
But it's not going to happen like that in the WAC. Like you're going to have to do those things, and you're going to have to make some plays. Like yesterday, I mean, we didn't play our best game offensively, but you got to give those guys credit. I thought that was as good a defense as we've seen all year long, not just length and quickness,
Right.
but also coaching. I mean, he obviously does a great job, and their plan was great. And, you know, they were just really good.
Right.
So I just think that it's going to be tough. I mean, you know, we haven't gone to Cal Baptist or Seattle or, you know, Utah's or Chicago. I mean, it's just a really, really, really good basketball league with a lot of really good coaches. And, you know, I just think we got to continue to get better in a lot of areas, you know, this team for sure. And then just moving forward, we've got to get better in some areas.
No doubt. No doubt. I'll pass to Kyle.
Jason, I want to go back to that locker room scene after the Bradley game that you were talking about. Like, how impressed are you that your guys, instead of maybe like blowing you off as a coach, some players can do that in today's game, I guess. They just simply responded and wanted your feedback. And now that, I mean, obviously the response has been pretty terrific for your guys.
Yeah. You know, I think I've been very blessed here. I got a great staff. I've had great staffs. And obviously Mudge has been the engine to most of that, you know, being with me for 12 years. And I listened to you guys interview with him, and it was fantastic because Mudge is he's a highly intelligent, he's a really good guy and a really good assistant coach and loyal to the T. We've just been blessed to have good kids here. And I think we've established a culture here that just doesn't, like, you know, did I think they would respond in playing better or getting to the point where we are as a team? No, I mean, you don't ever anticipate that. But did I think they would respond as people and human beings to someone who's trying to help them not just get better as a basketball team, but also get better as young men? Yes. I mean, I did, because we got those kind of kids. I mean, we've got high character kids. And they, you know, I think that they look to me like as a father figure, not just as their coach. I mean, you know, these are like my sons. And, you know, I tell them, hey, I'm going to treat you just like I do my own son. And in fact, my son was with us on the trip, and he sat in there in that locker room, and he listened to the whole thing too. And he's 12 years old. And, you know, I think that was good for him. You know, I think that helps him in his growth as a young man. Because, you know, we talked about the things that are tough. I thought the problem with our team was just when things started to go bad for us, we just got sidetracked and kind of got funky and sometimes, you know, funky with each other, not necessarily with me, but just with each other. And, you know, I was like, man, y'all got to be together. I mean, you guys are the ones that are out there fighting the war for each other. And, you know, and then I just think that we weren't getting the most out of everybody because sometimes we were too worried about the wrong things and not worried about, you know, what we all do good. Because I think that we have that type of team. We have, you know, I always compare it to building a house. We got plumbers, we got electricians, we got carpenters, we got a little bit of everything, and every guy needs to do what they're good at. You know, if you're a plumber, you don't need to try to do the electrical work. You know, I mean, so we just kind of have a little bit of everything, and I don't know if our guys were doing that, you know, and. You know, and I put a lot of pressure on Savon at the time and that night and in that locker room because he is the best player on our team. And I really needed him to step up more in a leadership way, like, you know, maybe getting out of his comfort zone, you know, talking to guys more and putting guys under his wing more. And, you know, for that matter, Kyle, even getting on guys. Like, you know, when you're the best player and you work hard, you can get on people. They're going to listen to you and respect you. And they're going to appreciate that in the end. And I kind of told them, you know, like when I was a player, I wasn't as good as most of those guys, but I really felt like I was a really good leader. And I think sometimes when you're a good leader, you don't really care what guys think at the moment. Like, I don't really care if you like what I'm fixing to say to you. but this is what's best for our team right now. And in the end, you'll respect what I'm telling you. And so I think we just talked a lot about those kind of things. And, I guess to answer your question, I wasn't surprised that they followed through with it, but I am surprised that, we've turned it around as quick as we have and are playing the basketball that we're playing at this point.
HOOTEN sits down with us with win number.
You talked about Savon. I mean, Mudge mentioned it, and we've talked on a when I spoke to you earlier this year, just how he didn't come in with that arrogant head of, hey, I played at a P5, I'm better than everybody else, this is the way it's going to be. He's turned into a true leader for your squad. I mean, it's like you were saying, it felt like that game on Thursday against New Mexico State where he had 2 fouls early after getting you guys off to a great start. The guys kind of rallied and kept it going, and you were up 20 at halftime. How has he turned into a true leader that people don't really recognize or see off the floor, I guess you could say, because, they know what kind of player he is, but it's the leadership, I feel like you mentioned, that has made him even better on the floor.
Yeah, the number one thing, it's twofold. The first thing is he is a absolute positively high quality character guy. He's the guy that you would want to marry your daughter. I mean, he's that guy. And then he's just so intelligent. I mean, he's just highly intelligent IQ. His IQ is off the chart, and so I think, when you're dealing with a person of that magnitude with those two things, I think if he respects you, he's going to listen to you, right? And so I just said, look, this is what you're capable of doing, and I'm not sure you always are getting the most out of what you could really do. Being a great player is great. Everybody wants a great player, right? But everybody wants a great player that wants to make everybody around them better. And he's done that for our team. And the greatest thing is our guys have welcomed that with open arms. And in fact, the night we won the Abilene game, one of our guys stood up in the huddle afterwards and was just like, hey, man, we just really appreciate you, because you may have scored 30 something tonight, but man, if somebody's open, you're going to throw them the ball. And you're going to go get a stop when we need one, or a big rebound, or you're going to take a charge, or, I just think guys appreciate players like that, right? It's not a one-dimensional thing where he's just trying to score. I had somebody yesterday at the end of the game when, JD hit that 3, somebody's like, oh, what a great play you drew up. My gosh, what great play. It's like, hey, man, I ran an ISO play to get the best player on the court the ball, and they double teamed him, and he threw it over there and zinged it to JD, and JD made a 3. Now, is it good coaching that you got the best? I mean, a good coach or anybody gets the ball to the best player. It's just what you do. Right. And if I was going to lose the game, I wanted him to be the one that either took the shot or made the pass or whatever the case may be, But I just don't know if great players do that all the time. Right. There might have been a guy that you throw the ball to there and he just finds a way to get that shot off, right? And it's not a good shot. And you might still go back to the locker room and be like, hey, we got it to him. But this guy he zung that thing right over his shoulder, and JD was standing right in front of me. And, when JD caught it, it's just JD. I was like, that's going to go in. He's going to make this shot, But that's what I think Savion's done. I mean, look at yesterday. He's 1 for 10 in the first half. Can't get anything to go. And you got to give Grand Canyon credit for that. McLaughlin, I think that's how you say it. He did a fantastic job on him. He was physical. He got a hand up on his shots. But then, we come out in the second half, and the first 5 minutes, the guy's he's amazing. I run 3 or 4 plays for him for sure, but he just makes shots, and he goes in offensive rebounds, and one putback finish is they had 2 arms held him. They had 2 arms around him, holding him down, and he still gets it up and gets it in. That's the thing that he did. Or, the New Mexico State game, he gets those 2 quick fouls, and he's sitting right behind me. And, I was really close to putting him back in, but we were playing great. And so I kept turning around and hey, man, you got to stay in the game, because we've all had guys before that get 2 quick ones and they never mentally get back in it, right? And I'm just like, hey, man, you got to stay. And he's like, Coach, I'm good. And so I believe him. And then we come out in the second half and the dude still gets 22.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's funny. Last night we got home and Kristen and I were watching TV and she's like, this is a once in a lifetime dude. Like, we've all had good players. I mean, gosh, Zach was a great player. I mean, all of us have had great players, but this guy's special. Like, and it's not just the playing of it. It's just
it's the rest of them.
Like being around him every day and like, you're fixing to go on a 5-day trip to the West Coast. I mean, these are the kind of guys that you want to be around. And then, when it comes time to tip it up, that he's going to be out there and playing on your team too. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm just trying to absorb every game, because I mean, we only got 10 left plus hopefully the tournament. And, I'm just trying to absorb every minute of it. And
I want to ask you one last thing on that game-winning shot that he found Jaden Ray for. How much confidence does it give a player like Jaden Ray or anybody else on the floor that Savon has confidence that if he's going to throw it to him, they're going to hit a shot? Like, I feel like that's a big part of it too. Like, okay, he's the best player. We drew up to play for him, but I've got to have confidence too that he's going to find me if I'm open to hit that shot as well. Like, I think that's another misnomer that people don't really pay attention to. Like, they feed off the confidence that the best player on the floor has in his teammates as well.
There's some points in the season, like maybe at Texas or, North Texas or somewhere like that where, we're in a huddle or something and I'm like over on the side and talking to the assistants or I'm trying to get my mind right. And I can hear him talking to those guys about that kind of stuff. Like, hey, man, you need to be ready to shoot. Like, you need to be ready. And so I just think over time they understand that he's going to pass the ball, but I think he's got confidence because he knows like Lampley's made one of those shots in at least 2 out of the last 3. Like Lampley made the shot. I mean, I know JD made the game-winning shot against Abilene. That 3 that Lampley made against Abilene's what won the game.
No doubt.
The 3 that he made against SFA, that's the shot that won the game the other day. I mean, those I think are, those are the shots that I think Savon has a lot of confidence in his teammates from that kind of stuff because he knows those guys are going to do that. But Kyle, also to your point, when you have a player like him in that kind of magnitude, that guy can give you that kind of confidence that if he believes in you and you think he's believing in you, then right. I've got a little bit more confidence to take that shot too, right?
Yep. Agreed.
Coach, we always ask a funny story before you go. If you have one.
I should have probably been because, you asked Mudge the other day too, and that was pretty good. And I probably should have already been doing this because the first time you guys had me on, you did the same thing.
We had you on last year when you made the move to the WAC, the announcement that night we had you on. If you don't have a funny one, you can still have a good one. Maybe you got one with your son at home. Maybe you got one with your son in the locker room with the team. Anything you got that's whatever you think would be a good one to leave on.
Man.
And you've been doing this for a long time, so you probably have a whole arsenal of them.
I got probably 100, but I can't even – when you got me on the spot right here, I can answer all these great questions y'all have, but I can't think of a funny story or a story.
You got any good referee stories for us? That's usually a good category for head coaches.
No, I'm not a good referee. I mean, I don't talk a lot about the referees. I try not to mess with referees too much. I probably did that a little bit. I probably did a little bit too much in my younger coaching career, just worrying about.
If you really want a topic, if you have a funny story about me, you can feel free to say that. I mean, you got the whole floor if you got one.
A funny story about
I've obviously known you a long time. When I first
you know what? This is what I always remembered about you. And I don't know if it's a funny story or not, but I always knew that you were going to move and do some great things in your life. Because man, I remember when I was at Tarleton, I was just a young assistant coach, and
that's when I first met you.
Man, I would get these dang letters in the mail from you, handwritten letters, and I'd get phone calls all the time, man. You used to wear me out, but in a good way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you were always working and you were always networking. And then every time I would be on the road, man, you'd always catch me and corner me and pick my brain about just stuff, man, on, whatever it might be, just recruiting or players or whatever the case may be. So I always, and I look back at those times, and those are great times, the fun times for sure. But, I also, those kind of times make you feel good too, as a coach. And, I talk to our guys about this, and Savon talks to our guys about this all the time too, of just about celebrating every shot, celebrating every victory. I think we all know how hard this is, right? I mean, this is a hard deal, and and I look at this past week and win those 3 games like we do. I mean, you'd like to bottle it up, and you'd like to have that happen all the time, but we know, I mean, this trip's tough, and if you go lose a game or 2, then you're gonna start feeling the total opposite as you do right now,
Right.
and so I just think we all need to enjoy, our great moments when we have those in our families or kids or, whatever it is. I mean, those were good times, man. You were a young assistant coach with no bills, no worries, nothing. And, those are things that have built you to where you are today, and things that have built me to where I am today too. So.
Sure. Yeah, I can remember. I got a ton of Jason's hoop memories, so I won't kill everybody with them, but I can remember getting beat pretty bad or competing. But we're at Abilene Christian with Golding when we first transitioned to the Southland. That was our first year in it. That wasn't pretty for us.
That was hard though. D2 to D1 is
really hard, really
tough.
hard. But then I can remember like Sam Houston at the top of the league, and then going to Lamar and turning around that program. And I remember a day when we actually got the win against Sam Houston, and it probably felt in some ways how you felt this week, to feel like you're at least at where you can compete with the best teams. Doesn't mean you're a conference championship team yet, but I could just remember even in those games, you were so gracious after the game to talk about like the job that we had done at the time. And obviously you guys went on to have enormous success too, but from recruiting Clavel when I was in junior college, who was one of the best players in Sam Houston history. So, and then we had Stephen Warner, who left Sam Houston. And so we got all kind of members we can go down the lane. But congratulations on the week, Coach. We appreciate you jumping on. We know that there's more work to be done, but the cool thing I think for your staff and your team is that at least you can compete with the best teams in this league, which we know it's a 1-bid league, although there's 2 teams that probably could at least play in the tournament. And we hope that at some point a league like this can get 2 bids, but we know you guys have the capability. So congratulations on the start and turning it around, because sometimes if you maybe don't have that locker room situation or conversation, or maybe if it doesn't go well, the season doesn't go like it's going. So credit to you for taking the time to open up to do it a different way, because I don't know if you've done that before, but it's working.
Well, I appreciate it. Again, though, we just got a long ways to go. I mean, again, those games were good wins. Those were home games, though, and I feel like you gotta win those games at home for sure. I can only imagine what it's going to be like to play at New Mexico State or at Grand Canyon. I mean, those are going to be pretty tough venues to play. And, this week will be I'm sure Cal Baptist and Seattle, I mean, those are probably really difficult places to go to and have to win a road game. And we all know how hard it's to win a road game, no matter where it is. But then just to go to, I watched a little bit when I got home last night of the Seattle Tarleton game. And I mean, they're super talented. Got some really good guards and probably underrated power forward and an underrated inside guy too. So it's going to be fun. I mean, I think these kind of trips always show you, a lot about your teams, and to be competitive and to go fight. It's what we're going to try to do.
No doubt. Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Be safe.
Thank y'all. Kyle, man, thanks for everything you do on Twitter, man, with the league. I think, I don't know how many people, I hope a lot of people follow you, because I think you just give a lot of recognition for this conference. So it's been a lot different. Just, I think the coverage and the excitement and the crowds and things of that nature, I just think your info that you give for everybody really helps in that area. So it's helped. I think it's helped our crowds for sure, and our campus as well. So it's been fun. And, I think it's given our kids on campus, something to be excited about. We had, almost 1,000 students there yesterday alone. It was a really, 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon. We haven't been able to say that a whole lot here at Sam Houston. So appreciate all you do, man.
No problem. Thanks, Jace. I appreciate it. And enjoy your West Coast trip this weekend.
Well, I will if we win.
All right, Coach. Good luck. Travel safe, man. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kyle, give you your 30 seconds, and then we will shut it down.
It's a big road trip, obviously, this week for Sam Houston. 7-1 in WAC play. I mean, if they get by CBU, and then if Seattle gets by Stephen F. Austin on Wednesday as well, showdown for the top spot in the WAC standings on Saturday. I really like this team. Savon Flag's one of the best players in the WAC, if not the best player in the WAC. But he's getting contributions all over the floor. Jaden Ray, Dante Powers had a big week for the Bearcats as well. Obviously, you heard Jason Hooten talk about, that coming together meeting after they got blown out by Bradley at the Sun Bowl Invitational right before, conference play started. I like this team. I'm going to keep riding the Bearcats wave, until they, get shook off if it does. But very, very impressive start to WAC play. I didn't see it coming, and I don't think a lot of people did, except for Savon Flag, who commented on my post on Twitter. So really like the Bearcats, and it's a fun team to watch because they can win in different ways. So
no doubt. They got a chance. When it comes to March, they have a chance, and they have a chance to win the regular season, which we know that's a big deal too. So till next time.